Just after he was elected, but before he took office, they had that famous lecture by a guy named Di Dongsheng, a famous academic. He said, "We own the White House. When Biden gets back into the Oval Office, we're going to determine American policy at the highest level."
The Chinese Communist Party's leaders are planning to draw America into 4 separate wars.
Of course, we can have other evil tactics, such as furthering the chaos of the world. But the problem with the United States is that it is truly diverse. Among Western countries, the U.S. enjoys the highest degree of democracy. Of course, diversity has one advantage. The people have freedom, such as freedom of speech. But it comes with disadvantages too. It's very difficult for the people to come to a consensus. The best scenario for the U.S. is that it has a very clear external enemy. If there are 2 enemies, the United States will lose its focus. This was the situation before World War II. There were 2 enemies, one Nazi Germany and the other the Red Scare, the Soviet Union. Because of that, the U.S. started fighting internally, even before the war began. Now, if there were 3 external enemies for the U.S., you could see how that would be a mess, let alone 4. So China's strategic goal is to make sure that the U.S. has 4 enemies, and one of them must be a terrorist group. Russia is like one, but it's not enough.
Als je uitzoomt, weet je gewoon dat Rusland het niet zal verliezen. Want China zal het nooit toestaan dat Rusland verliest. Op het moment dat Rusland verloren heeft, worden alle lopen gericht op China.
The opposition bloc around Russia is likewise the opposition bloc tied in with Palestine, which had been a proxy force through Yasser Arafat, aligned with the old Soviet Union. That was the so-called Red-Green Alliance of Soviet-backed terrorism. This has continued under Iran, yet tied to the new global alliance alongside Russia, China, and North Korea. War for the United States is out in the open. Our officials announce every detail of their plans. The media picks apart the strategies. Congress debates it on live TV. We warn our adversaries of everything we're going to do long before we do it. We have transparency, but the enemies of the United States do not. They operate in the shadows. Their main forces are not the so-called boots on the ground, but usually instead the hidden hands. The forces behind the scenes that move the proxy fighters as pawns in their game. They raise wolves to attack us and then pretend to comfort us from the atrocities while plotting to poison us.
China? China? Hello? You go China? Hello, China? Yeah?
Are they trying to put people in place, I'm talking about communist China, so that when and if Donald Trump wins, they can create havoc in the streets and become saboteurs, starting wildfires and propaganda?
Absolutely. And then you put together these images of recent Chinese migrants coming into the U.S. less than 3 weeks, taking target practice with sniper rifles and pistols. So really what we have here is the makings of a Chinese army, not in China, but in the United States itself. And the Biden administration is not tracking these people.
Meanwhile, the White House and the Pentagon are urging the House to move quickly in passing the Senate's $95 billion foreign aid package. This legislation includes more than $60 billion for Ukraine, $14 billion in security assistance for Israel, and nearly $5 billion for the Indo-Pacific region.
Unification is the hope of all Chinese people. If China can be unified, all Chinese will enjoy a happy life. If China can't unify, everyone will suffer.
And so I'm not surprised that Xi would try to bluster his way into a successful takeover of Taiwan. I would be surprised if they don't try something under the Biden administration, because for them, I'm sure it has to feel like the door is wide open for them to do whatever it is they want to do.
Just after he was elected, but before he took office, they had that famous lecture by a guy named Di Dongsheng, a famous academic. He said, "We own the White House. When Biden gets back into the Oval Office, we're going to determine American policy at the highest level."